On LinkedIn, you see a lot of people talking about cold email is dead, becoming not so effective as it was.
Many customers that we have, and they can physically see their campaigns and how they succeed. I would say it's very difficult to say that it's dead because those people have amazing results. If you do the math, cold emailing would be one of the cheapest ways to test your go-to-market.
How to do a proper cold email campaign, things to keep an eye on.
In terms of metrics, there are two I would pay special attention to. So one is
Hello, dear audience, and welcome to the Startup Sales Talks podcast season 2. And I'm wishing for the audience all the best in 2025. This is the first episode of this year. And to open the season and open a year, we have super special guest, Margaret from Woodpecker. She's not far from me right now. She's in Poland. So I cannot hear from my windows, but maybe sometime. And Margaret, I'm very excited to have you in the episode. What do you think about this year, and maybe a short intro from your side?
Absolutely. That's been a crazy year. I think we all feel the same way. If you're anyhow even remotely close to outbound 2024, that was really something. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. And actually, I couldn't imagine better time to embrace the change that happens around what we do. And just a quick intro, my name is Margaret. I'm a CEO at Woodpecker. And as probably some of you know, we do cold email automation. So that's why I'm super hyped up to talk about anything that is there for salespeople.
Amazing. And I personally know Woodpecker for years. I've even been in Wrocław, in the city when the headquarters is, I believe, right? I would like to start with Woodpecker and its mission in general, right? So could you tell me a bit more about the company itself, how it's, what has been an evolution of the company over the years, and what you guys are looking up for?
Absolutely. So first big thing is that Woodpecker has been on the market for over 9 years. So this is pretty long time. And when you were for so long with outbound industry, you learn few stuffs, most of them in the hard way, that first of all, there are no silver bullets in this industry. So whatever is awesome and solves all your problems, it will expire very, very soon. And the second one is that deliverability is a key. And I'm telling you this because if I would have to say one sentence about what is Woodpecker, I would say this is the best deliverability on the market for lead gen agencies. And then I don't have to say anything else. And I truly believe so. Because we've been so dedicated for all these years to build it up. And it's still the case. And I mean, deliverability is just so awesome. I know that majority of people don't share my enthusiasm towards this, but this is extremely interesting part of the business. So I'm super, happy to be able to work with this more.
Yeah, and what I'm saying to my clients and just people when they ask me about cold email, I'm always saying that half of the success is deliverability. If you nail that, rest is just rules, best practices, and you should be fine. But if you screw up with deliverability, you can write the best email in the world. It's not going to have any effect.
It's a bit like with artists, there's so many great artists in the world who produce their content, paintings, poems, and put them aside at home. And then no one in the world knows until they die and someone finds out oh, that was a genius. It's a bit like with your cold emailing. You may be really amazing and your business may be just so awesome, but you need to have a mean to tell someone about that. And that's deliverability.
Exactly. And just out of curiosity, is Woodpecker was cold email sending platform from the very beginning, or you guys pivoted down the road?
So it was email sequencer since day one, but it happened as the outcome of other business that didn't work out so amazingly. So it was actually Woodpecker was in-house product to do the cold emailing because back then there was not so much on the market that you could use. And out of this need to automate sending for the other business, Woodpecker happened as an internal product. And then it was kind of natural thought, okay, if we need it, probably someone else in the world needs that as well. And that's how it started. But the product itself was always to automate outbound.
Got it. And I know, Margaret, that you're in Woodpecker for years as well. And you saw company from the very early days. And I really admire people who really like climbed up that career ladder, like from being like junior person in the company, and then you became CEO, which is really admirable, and it happens not so often. And could you tell like briefly about your story and what you find the most crucial, like first of all, staying the company for so many years, and second of all, what was maybe your secret, and what kind of maybe tips you would have for people that want to climb the ladder like you did actually in the company, and ultimately became like a CEO of the company.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I started at Woodpecker as a junior supporter, so like entry level position. By education, I'm a lawyer, so that was kind of like me pivoting my career. So I was looking for something that will just give me more drive to work, and accidentally happened that I joined the company at the very early stage because there was like 5 people there. And I started like I was in the support, then I became head of support, then with success team, I was leading product team for a few years, and then being chief operations officer, and finally in the mid 2024, I was elected to be CEO of the company, which is like amazing experience to have, and I'm really grateful. But I think why it happened, so like why it was possible, is a similar thing why I like Outbound so much. So like it's a game for stubborn people, because it will get difficult and it will get like struggling, and like places that you really want to give up. So you need to have this factor that says, okay, we're not giving up today, let's try tomorrow. And I mean, there is no like secret sauce to that. It's just like you keep trying and you meet right people in the right time, and that's what help you grow. But yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I'm really happy that they stayed, because I know that the business standard or the market standard is like that you switch job to like 2 to 3 years. And I'm like almost over 9 years in the same place, and I think I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else.
No, but what a story. Can I guess that you've been a law student when you started to work at Woodpecker? Okay, classic.
Yeah, I tried to work in the law industry. I even did that PhD in law last year as a hobby, but this is way much more entertaining.
Yeah, got it. I had a similar story of pharmacy. I graduated from pharmacy, but I was started to work in startups when I was student at like second year, I believe. And I just finished just because of I want to finish the job. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, very interesting. Talking about cold email, right? So on LinkedIn, you see a lot of people talking about cold email is dead, right? Outbound is dead, and that cold email became very saturated channel, right? And it's becoming not so effective as it was, let's say 5 years ago, as a comparison, right? What would you say for these people, and maybe do you have any like practical examples that you could really tell and kind of decline this premise that people have more and more, at least from my point of view?
Absolutely. So first of all, I don't think there's any area of marketing or sales that becomes easier over the last 5 years. At least I don't see it, because like if you want to do go to market, either paid ads or like overall content marketing, everything that is there is more challenging. It's because it becomes easier to generate it. So the market standard raises, because we all want relevant content targeted to us and stuff like this. So this is not like cold emailing becomes more difficult. It's like what happens out there. So if you feel it's challenging, you probably feel right way. But on the other hand, when someone say like it's dead, and then I see like many customers that we have, and they can like physically see their campaigns and how they succeed, I would say it's very difficult to say that it's dead, because those people have amazing results. And still, if you do the math, cold emailing would be one of the cheapest ways to test your go-to-market. Like if you have a budget of like, I don't know, $200, what you can do with this about paid ads, or like what are you going to buy with it? If you have like $200, you physically can test on a small sample some of your business assumptions. So it's like, of course, you need to know how to do it. You need to have some know-how. It's not like 8 years ago, whatever you send, you will get the replies. We are not there anymore, of course, but still looking at the cost and how easy it is right now to buy data, to do enrichment, like Basically, you have a software that automates almost everything. Like, 8 years ago, when we were thinking about stuff like Play or Persona, that was not even close to our heads. Like everything was done manually or semi-manually. Right now, you just need to pay and you have it. So if you look from this optics and you feel like you're kind of stuck and you are not getting results, maybe that's the time to revisit your approach, not put the whole responsibility on the channel, because channel is as good as the user of the channel.
Very well said. I cannot agree more with this. Is that the complexity is higher, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't work, right? It's extremely good for agencies, like us, for example, that I constantly see clients coming to me and like, I doing exactly the same thing that I did 2 years ago and nothing works. And like, of course. you know? So, but like in general, what would be your top tips, tricks for sales people? How to do a proper cold email campaign? How to measure it? What are the key metrics that to keep an eye on, and how to continuously optimize it? Like not like very detailed. I understand we have a limited time, but like just top things to keep an eye on in general.
Absolutely. So I would say in terms of metrics, there are two I would pay special attention to. So one is bounce rate, of course. But like if your bounce rate is above a couple of percent, of course, we want to keep it as low as possible, but realistically speaking, and it grows, like you should stop and start thinking what to do. It's not like the problem will not solve itself. And I see people counting like, okay, maybe I had like a bit worse batch of prospects or something like this, and they continue. It's not the way. It's super risky because then they will need to spend more time on fixing it. So fix it up front. And my tip would be go to your inbox and read your bounces and check what is there, because there's a lot of information, a bit techy, but still you can get a lot of insights from there. And the other one that I always say that every organization need to do it like on their own is to calculate the ratio of how much you need to send to receive one positive reply, because it shows you the ROI of what you do. So then you can calculate, how much of business this process drives. And if it's below your expectations, then it's like a starting point. Okay, so what we can do? Should we like lower the cost, or maybe we should like scale up to get a little bit more volume? Because, it's like people sometimes get a bit disappointed when they say like, okay, I have campaigns with like 300 prospects and I didn't receive anything. Yeah, because maybe this is not the volume that you can count on to receive anything yet. So that's also the metric that helps you to do the sanity check.
And what do you think open rates?
About like tracking overall, or
yeah, because what I'm hearing is a question always like open tracking. Sorry, like email open tracking, right? And I do not recommend to do that constantly because there's a pixel, right, which hurts your deliverability. What do you think about that? Do you agree, or do you have a bit different take on that?
I would say, well, the fact is, if Google detects links and images, it will show the banner that makes it easier to blacklist you or to mark you as a spammer. That's a fact. But then there is the other side of that. So if your total addressable market is so small that open rate is one of the very limited amount of metrics you can look at, I would say it's difficult to say don't track it and just rely on your gut feel. Maybe then selection thing on like, maybe I can stop tracking for Google, but track for the rest. Of course, it lowers your deliverability. So there is like this negative impact. But it's always case by case. It's easy to say, don't track, don't do this, don't do that. But it always depends like what is your business. Because if you have like super enterprise product and you want to reach out with cold outbound and like you don't have capacity to build scale, open rate is still some kind of metric that you can rely on to test your approach. So, it's always the matter of like measuring and checking and asking yourself the question, okay, can I lower my deliverability a little bit? So like, let's say do only plain text, super clean content, like nothing else will harm my deliverability aside from this one factor, and then sacrifice it to get some results. So I'm not in this like team of saying, turn it off regardless of like anything that's going on. I would say look at your business and think if that's necessary for you to have.
Okay, makes sense. And what about amount of emails you should send for one prospect? Right, this is something that I constantly hear. So how many emails is like too many or not enough? Like what would be your answer like here?
I would say like 2 to 3 follow-ups is a safe amount. Because then you have like around 4 messages in the whole sequence. So it should be safe. I would definitely like be against sending like 10 emails in a sequence, because that's kind of crazy and it can really irritate the person. But that also depends, because some of our customers who get really good results, they do like connected campaigns. So they start with like 2 follow-ups and 1 opening, and then after a month they move it to another campaign when you have again 2 or 3 messages, just with different value proposition, with different CTA, to like re-reach to them, to recycle the data. So I would say, if you want to be safe, start with 3 or 4 maximum, unless you will see some positive impact if you test with higher volumes.
Okay, and the third very universal question which I receive is GDPR. Since we are both in Europe, so I guess this is something that you're hearing constantly from your customers, right? And so how do you ensure, and what is your take in general about GDPR, for example, that you are, of course, you're getting the list of emails somewhere, right? Usually you're not sending to Gmails because it's personal email at the end of the day, which is totally legal to do that. But business email is a public information usually, right? And what are your tricks, not like tricks, but like rules or the things that you recommend to the people to stay GDPR compliant from the data standpoint, and how they do the outreach part to the prospects?
Absolutely. So first of all, GDPR is about data processing. So you either have personal data or not. If you have it from like web page, LinkedIn, like some other source, it doesn't matter that much because it was available somewhere you took it. You have it as a personal data, so you need to treat it as personal data. And you need to remember that in every country, the regulation may be slightly different. So for example, like DACH countries like Germany, they are very sensitive with data processing. They have slightly different regulations than, for example, Poland. So there will be differences. But overall, if you do cold outbound, you don't have consent upfront, because that's kind of like, you don't know these people yet. So you need to stick with certain rules in terms of like unsubscribe option. So it's very important to give the person option to like remove their data, correct their data, to like reach out to you and say like, hey, I don't want this to happen again. Like, can you just blacklist me, whatever, and stuff like this. And the whole information obligation. So you need to like identify yourself. It's actually the evergreen standard for almost every country around the world with cold outbound, that you need to like say, hey, we are company this and this, just so the person, if the person like want to complain about you or do anything about like the activity, the person knows who you are. So that's basically, I would say that's the minimum standard. And also with GDPR is knowing your process. So, data retention, not to keep data that you're not using anymore for like a lifetime. So if you have prospects someone like 2 years ago and the person never replied to you, probably you're in a place where you should remove the data, not just like continue storing them. So this like, hygiene of work.
Okay, thanks. That's actually very good lawyer type of explanation. Yeah, thank you very much for explaining that. That's a very handy, I think, for the audience. And talking about right, let's kind of zoom out a bit, right, from the cold email, but like let's take a look at the sales tech in general, right? And AI came and everybody lost their minds about the AI. Now there seems like that kind of hype is going a bit down. People started to realize that, okay, I cannot apply for every field of my professional life, right? There's a certain areas where I can really apply it. For example, customer support is one of them, this low-hanging fruit application. What is your opinion about that, and how you are currently, while developing the product, you are utilizing AI technology or any exciting plans you have in order to kind of put that technology, let's say, in the Woodpecker?
Absolutely. Yeah. So first of all, I would say that this AI hype stabilizes a bit because people figured that you need a little bit more than just AI to use it in an efficient way. But on the other hand, that's great to basically like set up a process that is very repetitive and you don't want to do it like on your own. So as an example, at Woodpecker, we have automatic detection of the interest level of a response. So you can like do conditional campaigns based on that and stuff like this. So like no one wants to read all like replies you get and just mark them like interested, not interested, maybe later. So AI is perfect for that because this is like a language model. So it just reads and assigns like particular level of being interested or not. So this is one case. The other is like, for example, with autoresponders. Like if you receive out of office message and then you need to figure like when is the best time to remind the person that you reached out and stuff like this. This is also something that would works perfectly, and this is like typical low hanging fruit. So you can just like automate that. But on the other hand, I would say the whole really big niche is with like supporting copywriting, and I'm not talking about asking ChatGPT, please generate a sequence of 4 emails for me to this and this industry, because most likely you will receive something that is of discussive quality. But with softwares that are specializing in that, we get more and more quality input. Like I'm talking about Lavender, I'm talking about Twain, I'm talking about personal models that people are building, because it's also there, like AI assistants that help you to manage all of that. So basically, there is more and more support, but I still feel like there's a need for human input to do it on a level that is just bringing the real business results.
Talking about like specialized content creation, so shout out to Twain. It's an amazing tool, right? So they are fine tuning their model for salespeople, which brings very good results so far. Okay, and what do you think about like that SDR function will eventually dissolve, right? So you see a lot of AI SDR companies, right? And even some of your competitors are doing that as a like additional product. They say, okay, don't use my platform. The platform will be used by basically AI. You just put your lead list and off you go. Do you think that it will come shortly, the AI SDR thing, or it's a bit overhyped at the moment?
Well, I have a lot of trust in AI overall. But like, well, first of all, disclaimer: if AI SDR currently works for a business, that's awesome for you, and you should use it. From what I've tested, I don't believe what we imagine as a fully independent AI SDR is what we have now. That's a little bit of a stretch. Of course, you can automate a lot, and you can like synchronize data and put the model on the top of that and make it manage. But I don't think we are at the stage where we can say, okay, human is out of the equation. And at the end of the day, I would say this is like a transformation of what is SDR role, or what is the salesperson skill set, or desired competence, into more like tech person who can like set up the process on scale, like revenue operation stuff and everything that is around that. But I don't see the place where we are like not using human support at all. We just have the software. And having that in mind, and having in mind that what is the most valuable in cold emailing is like how good is your go-to market. Because this is actually, for example, where lead gen agencies bring a lot of input. It's like you are helping the client figure what is the best go to market. You help to test it out. I don't think we are at the stage where like without in-depth know-how about the industry can do it. But maybe in the future, I mean, who knows? But I see it more like, if you ask me what I trust in, is like I see applications that support sales tech people, more like hubs that are well integrated with everything, every ecosystem that is on the market, not as a fake person who does this for you. So I would say integration and marketing ecosystems and sales ecosystems over like just trying to imitate human behavior out there.
Yeah. So far, what I see from those like AI SDR companies and solutions, pretty much you need to have like really big TAM in order to make it work, because it usually hallucinates. Emails are not so good, to be honest. It's like average quality. And then you need to have like left and right sends of thousands of emails with a really good infrastructure. Maybe then you have make sense for SMB sales. But if we're talking about mid market enterprise, it's just not there yet. We will see. Nobody knows, but a lot of money is going there. That's a fact. Got it. And maybe do you have, Margaret, any like trends, let's say, or predictions that you truly believe in sales tech? And maybe let's narrow down a bit to be even more interesting about cold email, let's say, right? How cold email will go further from this point. What will be the evolution? What do you think? Maybe do you have any interesting takes on that?
I would say my bet would be it's not getting any easier than it is now. But if I would give like advice, what is the direction? I would say cold emailing need to be paired with brand awareness and top leadership and, being present in other media. Because right now I see it like a lot that for people who are being present on LinkedIn, doing some kind of other content like, podcasts, YouTube, wherever else is there, it's easier to set up relation. Because like one thing did not change, and I don't think it will change, that before you sell anything to anyone, you need to have more than one point of contact. It's not like, I don't think it's true that someone buys because you're sending cold email. Someone buys because someone checks you, seen the web page, maybe some LinkedIn content, whatever else is there. But it's not just email. And I don't think like for the last 3 years it's been the case. So I think like for the future, we need a little bit more work on terms of marketing and supporting the brands to have effective cold emailing, which is great because I mean, it shows that people are researching and just, look for familiar faces and people that are around. And well, for sure, we'll have some extra entertainment from Google or Microsoft because like that's the case. A year without some kind of news that will be spoiled here. So I think we can expect that. But on the other hand, I still think that cold outbound, regardless of the channel, if this is like LinkedIn, email, whatever else is there, is one of the best targeting precision that you can get. So like when you think about how you acquire customers, like, and how you can get like your pipeline full, you will not find anything that is so detailed and where you can so much narrow down as here. So I feel it will live perfectly fine. We just need to like get used to the new rules, new conditions, and learn how to operate there.
Yeah, it's a cockroach completely. Like it didn't die, right, since invention of the internet, and probably will stay here for a long time. And another thing, I completely agree. Actually, the availability and what Microsoft and Google is doing, nobody understands. Like you wake up and you see that your availability is just shitty as hell, and you don't know what happened. And actually, I talked with one tech CEO as well, and he is doing like a SMS and email marketing platform for e-commerce specifically, and he really cares about deliverability. And he told that nobody understands what is happening with deliverability. There's maybe 200 people in the whole world that are experts, and they tell I have no clue. Like literally, I can wake up tomorrow and rules are changed, and you need to adapt really fast.
Yeah, but I think, it's like every segment of the market where you have like very strong monopolists, you have this situation. Like I remember back in February, I think, or something like this, there was this huge change about cookie policy with Google, and then some like revolution about ads and stuff like this. It's just, it's the case, it's the part of the game. It's not just in cold emailing, it's overall that it happens from time to time. Just we have a pleasure of experiencing it more often than others. So like we can feel special in this sense.
Exactly. And as a last topic to discuss is learning, right? So we are in the space that changes so fast. Everything is so dynamic, right? And you're in the front, right, of leading the company, which is a lot of responsibility, and you need to stay on the top of your game pretty much, all the time. So I would like to kind of split this question in two parts. What you already learned that you can actually suggest for other people in the similar position as you, and second, how you keep learning. What are your maybe habits that you kind of created for yourself over the years, or maybe some books or any materials that you like to follow and would recommend for folks to explore as well.
Absolutely. So like with the recommendation or something that I would say I truly believe in is don't take advices from a person who is not close to the place you want to be at, or you don't share the values or something like this, because like whatever works for me may not work for you. And the same like with like the further you get with your business, the more opinions you get, and 95% of that is just like irrelevant noise. So unfortunately, there's no noise canceling for that, but it is what it is. So like really be selective towards what you care about and what you think it's like relevant that you should really like take it to yourself. And in terms of learning, I mean, I would say for me, it's people. So like being surrounded by people that actually help me to get better in something. And it doesn't matter if you're like in charge of someone or someone is like above you in the structure. That doesn't matter. If you have like knowledgeable people, you will learn from them. You will learn from people who are your clients, your competitors. Like it's just there. It's just a matter of perspective. So I really like to think about this as a process. So like I doubt that you will have a book or like something that you will just read and that will like absolutely change your perspective for a short time. It may be because like this is this shock of information that you receive. But for like day-to-day life, just try to surround yourself with people that make you what you do better, no worse.
Yeah, and do you have, Margaret, mentors that you let's say have a relationship with, and you have mentorship sessions?
So to some extent, I had this during my whole journey at Woodpecker because when I started as a junior supporter, we had the great CEO. He taught me a lot, so I had this pleasure of having this comfort during my life. But actually, I don't have currently like a mentor, the person go to that I can recommend to you. But I'm constantly trying to have those people in my organization that works as managers, as salespeople, or as customer success people, or whole people who are there, because it's about tiny things. I don't think it's about like someone bringing you up the knowledge of the whole universe and saying, "Here you go, just just consume it." It's just about this like moments when you're pushing the limit a bit further and you're learning how to do it. Because even like if something is very overwhelming, you can like teach yourself, you can get used to that. And I like the comparison, like I try to do a bit of climbing, and usually like, I'm terrified for a majority of time that I will die or that I will die. But then if you do something like 100 times, you get used to that and you don't think that you will die anymore. And this is the same with like running business. For the first 2 days, probably you will consider dying, but you will not die. You will be fine. You just need to get used to that this perspective and this discomfort is something absolutely fine.
Oh yeah, that took me 2 years actually. So very good, very good advice. Just get comfortable to being uncomfortable. Great. Okay, Margaret. So thanks a lot for a really interesting conversation, and wishing you all the best this year, developing the product and staying on the top of your game. And if anyone is interested in exploring Woodpecker or maybe personally talking with you, what would be the best way to reach out to you or reach out to the company itself?
Absolutely. So if you want to test Woodpecker, just go to woodpecker.co webpage. You can set up a trial there. So feel free to explore. If you want to talk to me about how to start with Woodpecker or just whatever else you want to say, Margaret Sikora at Woodpecker. You can find me also on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. So like if you send me DM, that will be actually me replying. So yeah, that would be really nice to talk to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Margaret. Best of luck and thanks for your time, and hopefully speak to you soon.